and welcome to Let's Chat with Simon and Tony. Can you believe it, Simon? We're up to episode number 40. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that. That's fantastic, Tony. Congratulations, my friend.
Yes, we're going very strong. I reckon we're going to have to make a special show when we make the 50, which is not too far away. So what's been happening in your neck of the woods, Simon?
Look, I've been pretty busy, Tony. As you know, I've got quite a few clients that I look after, so they keep me busy and on point. So, but I'm glad it's Friday, and I'm looking out the window of my office here in Melbourne, and I've got a bright sunny day, which is fairly rare with all this terrible wind and rain that we've been having. So it's actually nice to get a sunny day for a change. What's it like down in Tassie?
Well, at the moment, it's a bit cloudy. This morning I had a little bit of sun, but it's gone behind the cloud. It was very cold our Sunday and Monday. We had really strong winds and it blew things away. Blew a lot of things up and round and created a little bit of havoc, but we survived. And then the next 2 days was a beautiful sunny day. Can you believe that, Simon? Beautiful sunny days are just typical of our weather at the moment. It's sort of hasn't made up its mind whether it should be spring or winter yet.
Unpredictable, my friend. Unpredictable.
That's right. And Simon, tell the audience, what do you do?
Yeah, look, thanks, Tony. My name is Simon Bowden, and I'm an international marketing business coach with 25 years experience, which makes me a master coach. My mission is always to help my clients identify their aspirations and vision, strengths and blind spots. Help them make informed decisions and take action when needed to ultimately fast track them towards their personal goals. My coaching caters for executives and directors to entrepreneurs, small business owners and beyond. Whatever your situation, I'll help you build on your strengths and get clear on how to create a profitable future. I love what I do and I'm passionate about helping my clients succeed, Tony, as you know.
Beautiful, Simon. Yeah, if the audience doesn't know, Simon's also my business coach, and I certainly need Simon in these times. And you might ask, what do I do? Well, I call myself the Wellbeing Pathfinder. I help individuals and business owners via our customized retreats, workshops, and consultations to maximize their feelings of vibrance, purpose, happiness, health and success. And on that note, I'd like to introduce to the audience what our mission is. Whoops. Our mission is to educate and engage with our audience with lively discussions with experts to gain their valuable experiences, tips and benefits of the business and well-being practices they can offer. Well, Simon, I think we've got a very special guest.
We do.
I'll hand it over to you to introduce our special guest of today.
Absolutely. Well, look, we've got an amazing guest. I've known Richard for a little while now. He's a Melburnian like myself, and his name is Richard Paterson. And I'll just read his bio. As you know, Tony, over the 40 or 39 previous Let's Chats that we've had, I've tended to cut down on the bio, but I must say today, Richard Paterson's bio is fairly intensive. So I'd like to actually read it in full, if I may, because I think it's pertinent to what we're talking about today. So Richard grew up in Melbourne, but recently spent 15 years living in Brisbane and the Gold Coast. Richard's a single dad and having raised his son on his own since he was 4. Originally a primary school teacher, and I can see that about you, Richard, has also worked in sales management, recruiting and counselling, having undertaken postgraduate studies in counselling. Richard has also worked with children's charities, fundraising, management, program development and delivery. Richard's passionate about the Melbourne Footy Club, so we won't talk about last weekend. And he's also passionate about cooking, great coffee, which he's in the right place, Melbourne, and craft beer, cricket, Aussie rules football, and he is the proud owner of a Harley Davidson Fat Boy. Currently in community service involvement, serving on a team that weekly provides dinner for a great bunch of Sudanese refugee kids living in public housing in Fitzroy, which is absolutely amazing. He's also the chaplain of the Montrose Footy Club as well. And I do want to include this too, Tony, because I think it's a real hoot. Is Richard's most memorable day in his life so far is spending the afternoon at the Melbourne Zoo with Mariah Carey, of all people,
yes,
as a wish granting volunteer with Starlight Children's Foundation. So all I can say about that is wow. So please welcome Richard Paterson. How are you, Richard? We got you.
Yeah, we got you.
There we go. Yeah, no, I'm good. Great to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Not a problem, Richard. What an amazing bio. You've done a lot in your life, and we're certainly proud to have you on our show. So now you head up a mission called Basic for Blokes. What's the core purpose of that organisation, Richard?
Really simply, our mission is to get men to take ownership of their health. The thinking behind that, or the rationale behind that, is to help men find a reason to create a healthier version of themselves, because my experience and my observation has been that there's lots of really good health programs. There's good health products. There's, fantastic gyms and health clubs and whatever. But if there's fundamentally not a strong enough reason to get healthy, whatever process you use or how you implement, whatever it is that you implement, it won't have sustainability if there's not a basic reason to take ownership of your health.
That's an interesting one there, Richard, because as you know, I run health retreats, and one of the things that we find is that predominantly most of the people that go to our retreats are female. Do you think it's just that males don't think of their health enough? In other words, put a priority on it?
I don't have any scientific evidence or data to back this, but I have a hunch.
Yes.
That the health and wellness industry in general is pretty much driven by vanity.
Yes.
And I think most men, and not particularly corporate men, don't care about the vain stuff. So, for example, most of the health, the weight loss products and businesses promote about how good you look when you lose 10 kilos.
Yep.
The average corporate, his attitude is, his solution to putting on 10 kilos is to buy a bigger suit.
Yep.
Like, that's how you solve the problem.
Mm.
And I think that the health and wellness industries in general are very driven by vanity. And I think most women are motivated by vanity more than men. Sorry if that's appearing to be sexist, but it's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's what I find too. Like even the females that come along, if you ask them what's their priority in their of all the things that they've got on their plate, where does health fit? It's always down the bottom. It's not up the top. It's the same thing with men. And I think that's we've got to get the health and well-being up the top of the list. You imagine if you're a CEO and you're only at 50%, what sort of how much production and work are you able to do? How many good decisions are you going to make if you're sort of fatigued? And perhaps Simon might want to just jump in there as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's like anything. If you've only got your tank only quarter full, you're going to run out. And if it's not, fully loaded at the start of each day, you're not going to have the energy to be able to get through the day. And especially if you're working with people, sometimes they can suck your energy.
Yeah.
And you'll find by lunchtime, a lot of people are, they almost want to have a bit of a snooze because they've run out of energy. And
Right.
not me, of course, but I suppose getting to that, Richard, I'd like to ask the question of where did this all start from? What was your challenge? Can you share your challenge with us, perhaps of your weight loss, and what created that? When did you wake up one day and sort of go, I need to make a change?
Yeah, really, really good question. And it's a really pertinent question about the motivation for me setting up Basics for Blokes, was that I have raised my son since he was 4 on my own. And that, was a big responsibility, and trying to hold down a corporate job, look after my son, help him manage some of the trauma that he'd been through, and deal with 8 years of litigation associated with the trauma that my son had been through. And in the process of that, I neglected my health and put on a lot of weight, and that had consequences for me. I had some serious conditions. I was actually diagnosed with a pre-cancer condition, and I ignored that pre-cancer condition for 2 years because in my priorities, like looking after my son, managing all the litigation, keeping the income, happening and all that sort of stuff, and my health came last. So I neglected it. But then honestly, it was just bizarre. I woke up one morning, and the first thought that I had that morning when I woke up was, what happens to Dylan if this becomes cancer? And I tell you, it hit me right in the solar plexus. Because like my little boy, he's not little now, but at the time, he was the most important thing in my world. And then for me to be confronted with the thought of the responsibility that I have of being healthy for the sake of my son. And it was really a fascinating thing happened. As soon as and that's the moment where my language around that is that I said, that's the moment that I took ownership of my health. And I said, this is my responsibility. And the reason that I took responsibility was because I needed to for the sake of my son. And the fascinating thing was that within 48 hours, I found the way to take ownership of my health and to bring my health under control. So the line that I've now generated for that was, when I found my why, my how found me. And really interesting, over the next 4 months, I lost 40 kilograms.
Wow.
And in the meantime, and that was nearly 10 years ago. And I've lost another 10 since then. So I've now gone from 126 kilos to 76 kilos.
Wow.
Congratulations.
And I've gone from wearing size 42 trousers down to size 30.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it all happened because I discovered why. And my little boy was my why. So when I found my why, my how found me. Too often we start with how.
Yep.
And I think it lacks power if we don't have a why.
Absolutely.
The how has to be built on the platform of a why.
Yep. I just want to ask you another question. How is Basic for Blokes different to other men's health charities?
Right, great question. And it's really important that this message gets articulated, and I hope that I do it justice. Most other health organisations focus on what you need to do and how to do it.
Mhm.
And also most health organisations, they create what I call health silos.
Yep.
So they specifically target, whether it's a cancer or whether it's mental health or whatever. What we do is we say the most important definition of health for you is yours.
Yep.
So we're not defining whether it's mental health. Like the stuff that we're talking about can relate to relationship health. It can relate to financial health. It can relate to emotional health. And my belief is that we spend too much time trying to find the silo of definition for what silo of health does this issue fit into. And like you take, for example, addiction. Where does addiction fit? Is it an emotional problem? Is it a mental health problem? I don't care what silo it sits in. Let's find a solution.
Mm.
So I want to get away from all the silos of definition in health. And I want to say health and whatever that means to you is what we'll work with. And so that's the two things that we don't define health, and we focus on the why, not so much because, as I said, when you find your why, your how will find you.
Yeah, and that's really, really interesting that you said that. I couldn't agree more, Richard. And I think what you've set out to do to help men in this area is truly remarkable, and I certainly congratulate you for that. And I suppose that brings me to my next question. Obviously the name Basic for Blokes represents men. Obviously that's your target audience. What type of men are you looking for?
Any bloke. Like I would love for, I think initially, as with all of these things, most with this sort of stuff, I think generally what happens is you start with a reactive audience, an audience that's got a problem that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Is generally where you start. And so with that philosophy, we're probably targeting, men that are probably like 40 plus, not deliberately, but just by default.
Yeah.
But then what happens is when you establish your intervention for like reactive intervention, then the opportunity arises that you can start working with the proactive aspect. So my long-term goal is to build a fence at the top of the cliff rather than run an ambulance service at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Analogy.
I really hope that we can start working eventually. Once we get traction, we can then start talking to young men about what they can do to set their life up so that they don't have to be reactive when they're in their 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
That's great. And it's sort of inspirational from what I'm hearing. So I just want to hear from you. What inspired you to create the Basic for Blokes?
I guess the breakthrough that I experienced, like my parenting escalated unbelievably when I got healthier.
Yes.
Like I had more energy. Like my son was about 11 when this all happened. And we were living on the Gold Coast, 300 meters from the world's best beaches.
Yeah.
And yet most days after work, I didn't have the energy to go down and have a swim at the beach with my son. And like the world's best beaches are 300 meters from where I'm living. And yet when I lost weight, when I got healthier, when I got more energy, he's almost saying to me, Dad, oh gosh, do we have to go down the beach again? And we would go down. play cricket, kick the footy. And I'm thinking, I'm such a better dad than I was 6 months ago. And I thought, how many other, and for me, it was the context of being a dad, and, change it for your own scenario. But even if you're really passionate, like if you own a business, imagine if you lost 50 kilos as a business owner, how much clearer, like my clarity of thought was just escalated out of sight. My energy levels, my clarity of thought, my efficiency in what I did. And I thought and so what I did was I wanted to reverse engineer what had happened to me and say, how can I share this message with other blokes? Because I want other blokes to get the same breakthrough that I got, whether it's as a dad, whether it's as a husband, whether it's as a business owner, an employee, a sportsman, like even if you're playing at the local footy club, imagine how much more you'll enjoy your footy if you're healthier. And maybe that's enough motivation. The why to get healthy is because at the moment you're playing for a local footy side, but you just want to bust your gut to play AFL. That's a really good reason to get healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I've found that my experience has been, it's probably partly because of the way I'm wired and the sort of people I hang around, but I've found that the most compelling reason that most people have to create a healthier version of themselves is something a relationship-based motivator.
Yes.
So whether that's a business owner and you want to make sure that the 10 people that work for you can continue paying their kids' school fees or their salary, their mortgage or their rent or whatever for 10 years. So as a business owner, you want to be healthy to make sure that the 10 people that work for you can continue getting their income. But that's just my experience, is that relationships are one of the strongest drivers for people to take ownership of to create a healthier version of themselves.
Totally agree, Richard. But I suppose one thing with men, and this might be over a period of time, and I even know for myself, as a bloke, there's nothing wrong with us. You know what I mean? And for us to go to the doctor, it's I know a lot of friends that might only go to the doctor sort of once a year, twice a year, because they don't necessarily see that there's anything wrong with us. It's like we're the provider, we're the ones that have got to go out and hunt and do all the provide for the family. I agree with all of that, but as a person, how do you get your message across to these people, in particular to these men, that look, there is help for you, but you've got to understand that you've got to reach out for the help.
Just unpacking that a little bit. There's a guy who used to be the head of surgery at the Peter MacCallum Cancer Hospital here in Melbourne, who has been very passionately supportive of what I'm wanting to get off the ground. And I was having coffee with him one day, and I'm saying, why is it that blokes don't go to the doctor as willingly as a woman would? And he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know what the academic research shows. But anyway, as we're having our cup of coffee, we were kind of exploring this, and we came up with this really interesting narrative that when girls go through their change in their bodies and they start their menstrual cycle and their bodies are undergoing massive change, most of them have to go to the doctor at some stage in that process. And then when women get pregnant, they have to go to the doctor to get the pregnancy monitored. And then when they have the child, they tend to have to get the child, checked by the doctor regularly. And then it's generally mum's job to take the kids to the doctor as a family. So women are really, really familiar with the doctor's surgery. Blokes are not. So therefore, it's not a familiar domain for us. So we wait until it's desperate. But what's really interesting is in the last 6 months since Shane Warne died, the statistics are amazing for the number of Australian men that proactively went and had heart checks done. And there's like thousands of men in Australia have had early diagnosis of heart disease. So it's been treatable. And I think, isn't it interesting that it's the death of one of our heroes that has prompted men to become more proactive? I don't want to speak on Shane Warne's behalf. My hunch is, what I know about him, he would almost feel like his death was worthwhile because he's probably saved hundreds of Australian men's lives. And good on you, Warnie. Thanks.
Yeah.
Richard, what does the future look like for your organisation? What sort of long-term goals have you got? I think you mentioned a few, but perhaps this is a good time to sort of elaborate on what your future vision is.
Yeah, I was actually approached by Deakin University, who liked the idea and the sound of what I'm trying to get going, and I've established a joint venture with them, and they're actually now undertaking a research project to create some measurements and some metrics around the most costly men's health issues to corporate Australia.
Wow. Yep.
And that's the area that I really want to target, because I think if we can get our business leaders cognizant about the importance of good health, not just for themselves, but those that are in there that they're responsible for as well, then we can lead the charge by doing it through the business world. And I'm really blessed to be involved. The coach at the footy club where I'm the chaplain is an absolute AFL royalty, and Gary Ayres. He's really keen to help what we're doing. So when we get all this information documented from Deakin Uni, Ayres is going to join with me, and we're going to take this message and he's going to talk from a leadership point of view for the responsibility of business leaders to consider the health of the people in their care, and the importance of making healthy work environments a priority in Australia. And you know what? I'd love Australia to lead the world in this. Imagine if Australia became known as the country where businesses care about the health of their employees. How good would I would be such a proud Australian if we can lead the world in that.
Yeah, that's right, Richard. And I think one of the biggest problems that business have is keeping their people, because I know that if you lose staff members, the cost of replacing them, they've got to go out and get and train them up and things like that. And I know in some of the businesses that I deal with that they have trouble recruiting people. So if they lose their staff because of ill health, it's something that needs to be really addressed. And I love how you inspire that vision for employers to have a really good look at that. I think it's something that's really good. And I know Simon's going to have a comment on that as well. So I'll leave let Simon, because that's his area of expertise.
No, absolutely. I think that's a great avenue to go down, because, as Tony said before, I think the longevity of having the same staff is paramount, because it costs 5 times an annual salary almost to replace a person over a period of time. So it's very costly to a business, and it's very disruptive to the business and other staff members as well. So totally agree. But Richard, I just wanted to just quickly touch, because I know we're coming to the top of the hour, but I just wanted to quickly touch on how can people contact you if they wish to support you, whether financially, professionally, or otherwise?
Probably through our website, would be the best way. And so the organisation is called Basics for Blokes, and it's spelled BASIX, and then the number 4,
Yes.
blokes. So our website's basicsforblokes.org. Contact through there, or and that's got all. That's probably the best method, or via emails is richard@basicsforblokes.org.
Yeah. Or
Now,
come along to one of the Melbourne meetups and meet you in person.
Absolutely, I'd love that.
Terrific, Richard.
Now, we're coming to the top of the hour. So, Richard, this is your opportunity. If there's only one message that you want to get to the audience, what would it be?
Find your reason. So find your why, and probably who need it. Let's say it this way: who would benefit and who needs to have a healthier version of you?
Beautiful.
Ask that question, and I reckon you'll lead yourself to some pretty strong motivation to create a healthier version of yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. The main takeaway I've got from Richard is the why. And I think that's such a fundamental thing, is why do you want to be healthy? Is it for your family, for your business, or is it for yourself? Take responsibility. I think that's a terrific message that you've actually got to us. And I'd like to acknowledge you for, being a living demonstration of looking after your family, how you've noticed that your health was ill. You did something about it, and look what's happening now. You're out there helping other people. So congratulations, and I really honour the work that you've done. Over to you, Simon. What's your main takeaway? And perhaps you can wind up the show as well. So take us away, Simon.
No problem. Well, firstly, Richard, I really appreciate you coming on to our show. The takeaways that I got, which were profound, were the fact that you don't define what health is in your organisation, and I think as you mentioned, there's relationships, emotional, mental health issues. It doesn't matter what someone comes with, you can help them, and I think that is truly remarkable, and I congratulate you for that. And I think your Basic for Blokes organisation is going to go a long, long way because of that. So again, thank you very much for coming on our show. We've appreciated having you, and I'm sure that there's going to be lots of our viewers that will be very much inspired by your story. I know I was. So, and I think as a thank you for coming on the show, I can always offer you some of these, but because you've lost 50 odd kilos, looks like I'm going to have this again, Tony.
It looks like it.
We're going to be interested in that.
Remember to send half the packet to Tassie, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but look, again, just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your challenges and your wisdom with us, and the fact that you're creating this unique organisation purely for men. And I think it's the men out there like us, like you, Tony, like me, that need this help. And I think Richard's at the forefront of something truly unique. So I really appreciate it, Richard. And thank you, Tony, my co-host. And we've had an amazing 40th episode. And and for those viewers that are with us every fortnight, we appreciate it. We love you guys, and we love the messages that come through as well. So keep them coming. But in a fortnight's time, we have another episode coming, and true to form, I'm not going to divulge who it is because I want to keep it as a secret, and not even you know, Tony.
Not even I know. Maybe you don't know either, but that's okay.
I'd like to keep it a secret. It's like Richard is today. It's going to be a fantastic episode, and would welcome you to tune in again to Let's Chat with Simon and Tony. Have a great rest of the day and have an awesome weekend. All the best, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.